Kansas Republican Governor Sam Brownback is without question one of the worst 5 governors in America. He's destroyed his state economically with tax cuts for the rich and tax hikes on the middle class and the poor. And he decimated the social safety net and blew a giant hole in the budget. So he always talks about how, oh, I'm a fiscal conservative, I care about deficits. Really? Then why did you increase the deficit tremendously? This is the same thing, by the way, that Ronald Reagan did. You know, oh, I'm a fiscal conservative. Meanwhile, the deficit exploded under him. So by every measurable standard, Sam Brownback is a failure. But now we learn he also did this. Quote, Brownback on Tuesday issued an executive order protecting the religious freedom of clergy and organizations that oppose same-sex marriage as his state moved to implement the law and recognize same-sex healthcare benefits. The order prohibits Kansas from discriminating against an individual clergy, religious leader, or religious organization that chooses not to participate in a gay marriage based on their beliefs. Okay, so this is what many people think is the middle ground in the gay marriage debate. Now, understand, the decision from the Supreme Court did not say that churches need to marry gay people now. All they're saying is the federal government and each state government needs to recognize gay marriages. So gay marriage is illegal, but that does not mean that any gay couple can go to any church and say, I want to get married, and you have to marry us. That's not what it means. So again, what Sam Brownback is doing here is what he thinks is some sort of a middle ground. He's like, okay, fine, I accept the Supreme Court's decision as to what's constitutional. The state will accept gay marriages, but I'm still going to pass a law now saying that churches, you're protected if you want to discriminate. So here's the question on the table. Is that indeed a middle ground where you're saying, yeah, religious organizations don't have to do something like that? Now, I say no. And believe it or not, there's plenty of people on the left who would even disagree with me on this. But I've maintained from day one that you cannot and should not be allowed to discriminate in any forum, public or private, if the discrimination is based on something arbitrary. Okay, so we already have, under the Civil Rights Act, you know, you have certain racial protections. So like a business can't fire you simply because of your race. They also can't fire you based on your religion. There are certain things that are called protected classes where we understand they've historically faced more discrimination. So therefore, it's one of these things where it's arbitrary if somebody tries to kick you out of their store because you're black. So we don't allow that. So why would we not do the exact same thing with gay people? I don't understand it. In 29 states, you can still get kicked out of a restaurant because you're gay, or you could be fired because your boss doesn't like the fact that you're gay. Why the fuck would that be allowed? Now, we made a big step forward with the Supreme Court decision, but the fight's not over yet. Those 29 states, those things can still happen. And here we're dealing with a situation where Kansas is protecting churches that say, if you want to be bigoted assholes, go right ahead. Well, think about it. Should a church be able to say to an interracial couple, I'm not going to marry you because you're an interracial couple, and I'm against interracial couples. I'm against interracial marriage. Should they be allowed to do that? You know what the answer is to that. You would say no, because that's arbitrary. It's got nothing to do with the church as to whether or not these two people want to marry, and they're different races. The race angle is arbitrary, so the church shouldn't be able to reject solely based on that. By the same token, why should they be able to reject solely based on if they're gay? Now you say, well, being anti-gay, it's in the Bible in some places, so they're just following the Bible. Yeah, but being pro-slavery is in the Bible. Being against interracial marriage is in the Bible. That doesn't mean that in a civilized society, you tolerate that and say it's religious liberty. What about the actual liberty of gay people? What about their liberty? What about their rights? What you're saying, if you're on the side of Sam Brownback here, what you're saying is religious liberty overrides liberty. Religious rights override rights. And you can discriminate and be protected by law. Well, I say no, you shouldn't be able to discriminate, and you certainly should not be protected by law.